All right, last up, 3 video games, all downloads on my PS5, all released in 2025, right at the end of 2025. Maybe the precinct wasn't, but ooh, I've given it away. Anyways, first game up, uh, arguably my favorite of the bunch. All three were so good, but the first one up, Terminator 2D, No Fate. So this game was done. It's a side-scrolling beat 'em up, run and gun kind of thing, and it was done in the style of like it's a new game, but it looks like maybe it would have been on the Super Nintendo system, or maybe a PC console from that era, around the Super Nintendo era. Like it's got graphics like that, and it looks fantastic. So basically, the game starts, and you play as Sarah Connor. Sarah, it's 1994. Sarah is teaching John how to become a warrior, basically, to lead the future resistance against the machines. And during their experience out in the Texas wilderness, some big cowboy boss thug comes and kidnaps John. So Sarah's got to go and try and get him back. And then after that, she raids a Cyberdyne lab to try and reverse, or try and prevent, the future from happening. But she gets arrested, and that's kind of where the game starts. So basically, it plays through the storyline of the Terminator 2 movie, but it has some extra stuff in it, and it has some divergences within it. So basically what happens is, I think in the game total there's like 12, 13, 14, 15 levels, but the way it happens is you have to play through it in a certain direction the first time you play through it. So you in each level changes who you're controlling depending on what the events are. Like, so one level you play as Sarah Connor when she's in the insane asylum and she has no weapon and she has to escape from there. So she's taking down orderlies with like a billy club and stuff like that. Well, the T-1000 is chasing her. Then you play as Future John in a future level where you're taking down the machines in that kind of post-apocalyptic battleground. In some of them you play as Arnie. In one of them you're on his motorcycle with the big rig chasing you, with John on the back of the motorcycle. So there's all these different levels that have different themes and different characters that you use within them, sort of thing. Which is very cool because you have to adjust the way you're approaching the level depending on the character you have. You have a different weapon, right? So in the opening level with Sarah, all you have is a pistol. So you got these single shots. But when you control Arnie in a level with his big Gatling gun, like, you're basically indestructible, right? And then in other levels, playing as Future John, you have a futuristic laser gun, right? So there's always these different things you have to take into account in each level. The kind of weapon you're using, the capabilities of your character in terms of jumping, rolling, and also the types of enemies you're up against, right? So that definitely changes things as well. So, but the cool thing about it, all of this stuff is cool so far, but the other cool thing about it is that you're given choices throughout the game on which kind of route you want to take. So one of the main hubs of choices is when the three of them go to see Dyson at his home, the guy that invented the microchip that caused Skynet to become sentient and all that shit. And so in the movie, they don't kill him. They go with him to Cyberdyne to try and reverse what he has done. But in the game, you're given choices. You can do the same thing as the movie and take him with you to Cyberdyne and let him live, or you can have the T-800, have Arnie kill him in his home, or you can have Sarah kill him in his home. So depending on which option you choose, it then alters the course of the remaining levels in the game to go a certain way and play a certain level or two in that particular sequence that you wouldn't play in one of the other sequences, right? So it's really cool. So the downside of the game is that it's super short, but I've said this a million times, I'd rather have a super short game that is so much fun to play, which this one is, than a medium or long game that's like, yeah, it was good, but it could have done this, it was okay, whatever, right? I'd rather have a super fun short game than any other option. But with having these different branches you can take within the game, it made the replayability of the game pretty high. And not only that, there's a lot of trophies you can earn in the game by doing the different routes and doing certain things within those different routes. So I found also going back to try and get as many trophies as I could made the game extra replayable. So you got this short game that's so much fun, but then you also want to play it a million times, right? So I really enjoyed the game. And I can't remember how much it was. It wasn't super cheap, but it wasn't super expensive either. It was somewhere in the middle. But for a game like that, I happily paid what I paid for it because, like I said, I loved it so much and I had so much fun. So highly recommend if you love Terminator, if you love old style games, and if you just like fun, go get it. Next up, another super fun game that I didn't expect to be as fun as it was, and that game was called The Precinct. So, the year is 1983, and the setting is a fictional city called Averno City. You play as Nick Cordell Jr., a rookie cop that has just entered the force. And in 1983 Averno, things are grim. The police are underfunded and undermanned, and there's all these different gangs taking over the scene in Averno City. So the police are fighting a losing battle, basically. So you enter the fray as like I said, a rookie named Nick Cordell Jr., whose father was the police chief, but was shot dead in 1978, so 5 years before. And so basically, you start your first day. You have a partner. His last name is Kelly. He's a fun older guy that's about to retire. You deal with a couple of detectives on some of the gang-related activity. You deal with the watch commander. You deal with the police chief, a guy named Jackson. But basically, you are assigned a shift every day. You get to pick between 4 shifts. Like you can go here for a 6-hour shift and issue parking tickets. You can go to this area of the city and do a patrol in your car and look for crimes. You can go here for a 6-hour shift in the helicopter, trying to support the ground crew on crime. So, but within doing these shifts, you are tasked with also taking down these 2 gangs. One's called the Crimson Serpents. The other one's called the Jawheads. So you have to go out and do specific missions within your shifts that are particular to these gangs in their activities. And eventually you take down one of their lower level guys, and then you work your way up until you take down the boss and close the book on that gang and close the book on the other gang. But the main thing is you have an informant named Antonio, and as the game gets long in the tooth, he turns on you, and he is the leader of the ultimate gang in the city. I forget what they're called, but they're the ones that are really ruling the roost in Averno City. And with Antonio revealing himself as the head of this organization, you also get some tips and learn some information on what exactly happened with the death of your father and the state of the current police chief Jackson and his involvement in everything that's been going on. So there's a lot of corrupt shit going on. And as the game continues, you get revelations on that, and then you decide in the end whether you want to cover it up and let things lie or shed light on everything that went on. And yeah, it's just a super cool storyline, a super fun game to play, easy to play, fun to play. I look forward to playing this game every time I started out on it. And it's just really well done. It's like a top-down kind of view, and it's like a bigger Grand Theft Auto of the original Grand Theft Auto that was like a top-down view with the little cars and stuff. It's that, but much more bigger and complicated and better looking, right? And just going out to do a regular shift is fun, and all the little things you have to, when you arrest somebody, you have to like go through and level the charges at them, read them their rights, and then arrest them. So you have to follow all these procedures And if you screw something up, you'll lose XP. If you get things right, you gain XP, and you gain a rank with all the XP that you gain each time that you're out, hopefully. And with those gains in levels, you unlock like new vehicles, new skins for stuff, new weapons. So yeah, as you go along in the game, you want to make sure you're maxing out your XP, solving as many crimes as possible, because you get a lot of rewards for it, which makes your life easier in the end. And yeah, this game, like I said, I didn't expect it to be as much fun as it was, but I had a ball playing it. And I expected this game, based on the style of game that it is, and my experience with other games of this kind, I thought it was going to be a super, super long game and take forever to beat. But it was actually on the shorter side. But again, I didn't really mind, because just like with the Terminator game, short and awesome trump any other combination, right? And similar to the Terminator game also, there was a ton of trophies to earn in this game. And a lot of them were very obtainable. There was a small handful I couldn't get, but most of them are obtainable. So again, this game has a huge replayability factor in it. Long after you've beaten the game and solved everything, I was out still doing patrols and trying to go out and find a way to get all these trophies, right? So super fun. Again, super recommend it. And the fact that it took place in the 80s, for me, being a guy who's huge on nostalgia, seeing these old style police cars and everything, it was so much fun for me. So again, highly recommend. Last up, this one is also a very special game to me. I played it with my buddy Simon on our game nights, and then I played it on my own again later, if you've maybe watched some of the gameplay footage. But the game in question, Double Dragon Revive. I love the Double Dragon series. I still remember, and I've probably talked about this in the past, on my birthday in maybe 1988 or 89, I still remember in our house, the day of my birthday, my buddy Josh, who is Simon's older brother, Simon who I play games with all the time, he was over. We came downstairs. My mom called us downstairs. It was like, oh, it's time for cake and presents. So I got my presents, and one of them was the NES copy of the original Double Dragon game. And both me and Josh were like, son of a bitch! We each got a huge piece of cake, and we're literally like, scarfed it down like crazy, and then fucking bolted upstairs to play that original Double Dragon game on the NES, which is still one of my favorites. So we have a lot of history with Double Dragon, me and Josh and Simon, and my cousins as well. We love that series. To see it continuing to flourish over the years has been a joy. So Double Dragon Revive is the latest in the Double Dragon lore. So, oh, Kitty just got her food. So basically, the story of this game is similar to the original story. It's been 15 years since some sort of nuclear event, and crime is rampant in the communities that have sprung up out of the ashes of this event. And in the city where Jimmy and Billy Lee live, and their childhood friend Marion, the Shadow Warriors are the gang that control their territory. And Marion has recently gone missing, just like in the original game. And so Jimmy and Billy set out to go rescue her from the Shadow Warriors, and find out early in the game that, oh, I wasn't kidnapped. I went out to investigate what they were up to, because people have been disappearing, I've been hearing, and stuff like that. So in this city, like with Shadow Warriors in control, like poverty and the slums have just taken on so much. Like people are poor and destitute, and now Marion has learned that people are going missing suddenly. So she went out to investigate. Billy and Jimmy went out to find her, and so the three of them decide, let's continue and follow through on this and find out what the hell's going on, right? So basically, it's you chasing after the Shadow Warriors, trying to find out what's going on, confronting the big boss in the end. And in this version of the game, the boss of the game, the final boss of the game, is after the Dragon Vein. So the Dragon Vein is this resource in the city, underground or whatever, that has it's purple. It's mystical in nature, and it imbues people with a certain type of power. So this boss is trying to find a way to harness this power and create an army of Dragonvein imbued soldiers that will take over the world basically, and he will be at the top of it, sort of thing, right? So that's your job, to confront the Shadow Warriors, ultimately beat down the main boss, and stop this threat from happening. So in total, there's 8 total chapters in the game. You can play as Billy, Jimmy, or Marion, and another guy that comes along in the game eventually and becomes your ally. You can play as him as well. Ranzo, I think his name is, something like that. And yeah, it's very similar to the original Double Dragon games. Only it's not just 2D side scrolling. It is side scrolling, but you've got a bit of depth there. It's more of a 3D thing, a more modern take on it. And the same characters on the enemy side are there. You got a Bobo, Roper, Will, Willie, the one of the main bosses, Linda. Ooh, Linda's hot in this game. Burnov, who showed up in the second Double Dragon game, he's in this as well. And what I loved about the original Double Dragon games, one of the many things I loved, is that some of these enemies would show up with weapons, right? And if you beat on them a bit, they would drop them, and then you could use them in turn on your enemies. This game had lots of weapons as well, which is always so much fun. It's always fun, unleashing a whip on a bunch of people, right? Yeah, so battle your way through the 8 chapters, beat down Willie and then Raymond, and you win the game. This one was fairly short as well. Definitely challenging, especially that last level in particular, and beating down the final bosses. A very challenging level, but overall not that hard up until that final chapter. So again, these 3 games all have that commonality. Short, but awesome and so much fun. Again, I'll take that over anything any day. So really enjoyed it. And there are not as many trophies in this game as there were in Terminator, and especially the Precinct, but enough that you can get a little bit of replayability out of it, you know, which helps. But the bright side about the Double Dragon game that the Precinct and the Terminator game didn't have is that this is 2-player co-op, so you can sit with a buddy on the couch and play through the game together, which just makes it even more fun versus games only being a 1-player game, right? So so that was awesome. And I actually even think you can play it with up to 4 players. If you want to involve all 4 characters in it. If you have 4 buddies, you can play a 4-player as well. So I'm really happy with the things that I talked about in this instance. Stranger Things is one of my favorite, more modern shows that I've watched. The Forgotten Realms books, I've loved them so much. They're so entertaining. And then those 3 games, like I said, short, but so sweet. So really enjoyed this sesh. I hope you did too. I'm going to start working on the next 5 right now. Peace. Meow.